What if I told you that one of the biggest secrets behind Toyota's incredible efficiency isn't some crazy complex algorithm, but a simple four-step loop? It's true. In a world that's just obsessed with AI and constant disruption, this method, which is decades old, is actually more relevant than ever. So let's dive into the simple genius behind this powerful cycle.
I mean, we're always thinking that the latest and greatest tech is the only way to get ahead. But in a market that changes in the blink of an eye, how do the world's most successful organizations manage to consistently improve and just stay ahead of the curve?
Well, here's the secret. It isn't just about fixing things when they break. Not at all. It's about building a culture, a whole system of constant, tiny improvements. There's a word for it, Kaizen, the Japanese principle of continuous improvement. And right at the heart of it is a simple, incredibly powerful framework that has been Toyota's secret weapon for decades.
So what is this big secret of Toyota's? Well, it's a method that basically turns problem-solving from a guessing game into a repeatable science.
It's called the PDCA cycle. Now, it was first thought up by Walter Shewhart, a real pioneer in quality control, and then it was made famous by W. Edwards Deming. He's the one who really introduced it as a scientific way to manage quality. Just think of it like a never-ending loop of learning and getting better.
All right, so how does it actually work? Let's break down these 4 simple steps.
The 4 steps are super straightforward. Plan, do, check, and act. But here's the key. This is not a checklist that you just finish once and you're done. No way. It's a dynamic, never-ending spiral of improvement. Every single time you go through the cycle, you learn something new and get that much closer to your goal.
Okay, so it all starts with plan. This is where you really define the problem and map out a solution. Next, you do. You actually run a small-scale test of your plan. Then comes the critical part. You check your results. You compare them against what you hoped to achieve. Did it work? And finally, you act. If the test was a success, great. You make that change permanent. If it wasn't, you learn from it, you tweak the plan, and you start the cycle all over again.
Now, theory is one thing, but what about the real world? Let's take a look at a case study from a super high-stakes environment where there's absolutely no room for error, a hospital operating room.
So a hospital wanted to cut down the risk of infections in its ORs. They decided to switch from their usual way of doing things to a really structured PDCA approach to improve everything: hygiene, waste management, disinfection, the works.
And the results were just staggering. Seriously, look at this. The rate of detecting pathogens dropped by almost 2/3, from over 13% all the way down to under 5%. And the total rate of surgical infections, it fell just as dramatically.
This just perfectly shows the power of taking a systematic approach. A 65% reduction in surgical incision infections, that's not just a number on a slide. That represents better outcomes for patients, maybe even lives saved, all by applying this simple, structured cycle.
But here's the thing. PDCA isn't just for massive organizations. Its real magic is that it scales all the way down to you and me. Let's see how you can make it personal.
So let's take John, a software engineer. Before using PDCA, he just felt completely overwhelmed. He was working late, he wasn't happy with his output, and he always had this mountain of tasks spilling into the next day. But after applying PDCA to his daily routine, he got clarity, he started prioritizing the right things, and he was finishing high-quality work on time. The backlogs? Gone.
So how did he do it? Not with some expensive, fancy software. He did it with a simple daily goal chart, like a spreadsheet. Every morning, he would plan his tasks. All day, he would do them. Then, at the end of the day, he'd check his progress. And finally, he would act. He'd look at what took too long, what went wrong, and use that insight to build a smarter plan for the next day. It's so simple, but it is incredibly effective.
So the real key takeaway here is that PDCA isn't just a tool you pull out of the box once in a while. It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking.
It's this dynamic, iterative process where every single cycle builds on the knowledge you gained from the last one. It works for those small, frequent improvements, that Kaizen idea we talked about, but it also works for major breakthroughs. And as we've seen, its principles are universal. You can apply them anywhere, from a factory floor to a software team to a hospital to your own personal productivity.
This quote just perfectly captures it. You don't have to solve the whole massive problem all at once. You start small. You test your ideas, you learn from the results, and you build momentum. And those small steps, they gradually lead to huge, targeted, and sustainable change.
So the only question left is,
What's that one frustrating thing in your life, at work or at home, that's just waiting for its first cycle? What small change are you going to test tomorrow?